welcome back. So today I'm doing Aliana's hair in a style that I did previously, but she said it was too tight, so she took it down in the day. So we gonna recreate that style, and I'm gonna make it a little less tight. So to start, I was putting 100% virgin coconut oil in her hair. She had just washed her hair and left the towel on it, let it dry up a little bit. So to start, I'm gonna start with parting. I go from ear to ear. You want to make sure you got a little more hair in the back than in the front. So I just went from the tip of one ear to the tip of the other to get a nice straight part all the way across her head to start out the style. Part taken care of, it was time to move on to the second part, which is making two parts on each side of her head, one on the left, one on the right. So that's what I'm doing here. I was brushing down the sides because her hair is a little hard to part because it's so curly, and you can make a part and the hair will revert right back to where it came from. So this is just me trying to get two even parts on the side of her head symmetrically so that she can have the perfect square in the middle of her head. Once I got those two parts as good as I could get them or wanted them or cared to keep parting, it was time to take her sides and put them to the back so that I could work on the style without having to worry about those hairs coming back, messing up the parts that I just took so long to make. So here I am picking out the color rubber bands that she wanted. She asked for blue rubber bands, so I am picking all the blue rubber bands out of the package before I move on to the next step of the hairstyle. So in this next section, we are going to make another two parts. So you're going to make one part on the left and one part on the right, and it's going to leave you again with a section in the middle. Now that I have my two parts made, it's time to start rubber banding. So now you're going to part 3 squares in each section. So this is the first square. I'm going to add a little bit of edge control so that it stays down smoothly. And here I'm just using the edge control brush to lay it down so that it looks nice and neat with the rubber band. So this time is where I correct how I did it from last time. She said that the rubber bands were too tight, so I didn't wrap it as many times as I wrapped it the first go around. And here I realized that my part was a little messed up, so I had to go in and fix that real quick because it's the front of her head. And as you can see, it's time for square number 2. So now we have square number 2 and square number 3. When you start square number 2, you just add the edge control again like the first time so that it's laying down nice and neatly. Brush it up with the edge control brush. Then you take the ends from the first square that you started and you rotate it so that it has a nice smooth finish. Add it to the second part that you are about to rubber band and rubber band. So simple. And you're just gonna do that for the third piece, the third square as well. When I finish this side, I'm gonna do the same on the other side. So now we start in the last part of this style. With this part, you're gonna add a middle part straight down the middle, and this part is gonna be the base for making your last 6 squares. So now it's time to start your last 6 squares. So you're gonna make a part right where the last section starts its first part for that first square. You're gonna make it dead even with it and make your first part for your first square. I went ahead and put rubber bands on the first 2 squares on the first squares of the rows, and then I added the last 2 parts so that my squares could be finished and I could just start rubber banding to get to the end of this part of the style. Now the only thing we're gonna do differently this time is we're gonna take the square and we're gonna go to the opposite row. So we're not just gonna pull it back into the last row that it was in. You're gonna swing it over into the other side so that it makes a cross. And now we down to our last 2 squares, and it's the same method. You're gonna add a little bit of edge control to make it smoothed out. Use your edge control brush to brush it up a bit. Make sure it's laid down nice and smoothly. And then you're gonna take the ends of the last ponytail that you just had, and you're gonna pull it across to the opposite side. Now that her hair is done at the top, I'm just adding water because the remainder of the style is just to have a wash and go in the back. So we're just trying to get her curls out and popping. Here I forgot a step, so you want to combine those ponytails at the top to make 2 ponytails collectively at the top. So the 4 sections at the top, you're going to combine the 2 closest to each other and make 2 ponytails. And then here I'm just combing out the back so that we can get the definition in the curls. So here I'm gonna just start her edges. Because she was about to go to sleep and she was gonna tie her hair up, I didn't really do full blown edges because when she wakes up in the morning, they're gonna need to be redone anyway. So I just did an example of edges just so you guys can get the full look to an extent. But in the morning, I'm gonna completely redo the edges. So the last step to this hairstyle is adding the accessories. She wanted these bobo balls, so we found these really cute ones at the store in the shape of candy. This time she wanted the blue and purple, so we're just adding those balls to the ponytails to finish out the style. And this was the finished product.